Let her have some wonking time.
So, and on that note, very good evening, everybody. Just to clarify, we have a cat that started visiting us, and he's trying to woo my cat, and she's playing hard to get, and it's quite funny. Anyway, good evening, everybody, and a big warm welcome to our Lyceum night, coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church down on the south coast of the UK. Great delight to welcome back to our platform a wonderful gent who we have actually had the privilege and honour of hosting Fredrik here at Paul Church, taking courses, and again back here later on this year. So we have Mr. Fredrik Haglund. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Lawrence. It's always a pleasure to be back, and it's always a pleasure to join your wonderful church and attending courses and demonstrations and everything in the area. So it's always a very warm welcoming when you're visiting Paul, and especially Paul Christian Spiritualist Church.
Thank you. We were sort of kicking a few ideas about what to talk about tonight, and we both sort of came to the same conclusion. We could talk about what is evidence and how is evidence applied, and what's accepted as evidence within our movement of spiritualism. So, Fredrik, just very briefly, what would you say, just in a short sentence, as to what is evidence?
I think the evidence is what the recipient can understand and mean something from the depth to the recipient, because it doesn't matter what the other people in the congregation thinks, or if they don't think it's evidence or strong enough. It's actually what the recipient understand and can take from it.
Definitely, yeah, I'd agree there. And again, evidence can be very subjective. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, some evidence can sound very general to many people, but for the one who receive it, it means everything, because you never know if there has been some agreement. For example, if I take yourself, I know your parents is in the spirit world. There's no one who knows if there was an agreement with yourself and your mom with a special words or a special meaning that she would say if she come through. And it's maybe just one word who means everything to you, but the rest of the 150 people in the congregation will think, oh, this is too general.
Yeah. That is a really good point. I've not thought about that. I've only come across it a few times where people have made an agreement beforehand. And the few times that I have come across it, it's actually been very detrimental to communications, because no matter how much other evidence is presented, because that one thing is missing, everything else is dismissed.
Yeah.
So as I say, there's a couple of times I've come across that and wondering, I've seen people get exemplary messages from my ears, from my hearing, a great deal of depth and colouring in, if you like, drawing this picture. And the person going, well, no, because they always said they were going to say so-and-so, and they didn't say it, so it wasn't them. And I just think, wow. Have you come across that?
Yeah, similarities, but not that many. And I think it depending as well. We're working in totally different avenues. I mean, in UK and Scotland and Ireland, people are so used to mediumship, and they're putting the high quality to the demonstrating medium. In Sweden and Scandinavia, is different, because we are not trained to understand the depth of the evidence. I mean, you can go to a demonstration and the medium starts saying, oh, I have a mother here from the spiritual, and there's a lady, just by saying those two words, there's a lady in the congregation who put her hand up and starting to burst into cry. Oh, that's my mom. That's my mom. And you haven't said any evidence.
Yeah. Yes. We do have a few people like that in the UK as well. I've got a man here. That's my dad.
Yeah. But also, I mean, when you have worked sometimes and have some experience as a medium, what would you accept as evidence yourself if you receive a communicator from the spirit world? What would you accept as a good evidence yourself? And that is where we have to look ourselves when we're giving evidence and giving demonstrations. What kind of evidence are we given? Would I self be satisfied with the quality that I'm given, or should I look for something more or something more in depth?
That's very true. I feel it's when you actually get the presence. We talk about this wonderful circle of communication. So you've got from the spirit, through the spirit of the medium, to the spirit of the sitter, but then to progress that on, so the sitter is then activated to send their thoughts out to the spirit. And when you get that working, that's when, you know, the real magic starts to happen. That's when people say, oh my God, I felt them. You know, I knew they were there. I felt them.
Yeah. And you can feel the sparkle in the energy as well.
Very much. Very much. Because it's something, things are being...
But I think...
Go on.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit here. So sometimes I hear a few words what you're saying, and sometimes, so it's probably the connection here. But sometimes it's always good to go and see other medium, how they're working, and learn from other medium. Maybe those who have more experience than ourselves, and just don't think just because you're working as a medium, you might do 2 or 3 demonstration and a service every week. But you still have to develop, you still have to learn, because it's so easy when you have your calendar fully booked to just forget to develop yourself. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see how many of the experienced medium, how many times they go to a circle or run a circle where they are involved by themselves and not participating as a teacher or group leader, there as a student.
Yes. Yeah. There's a wonderful story from Mark Stone about his mentor, the very well-known tutor. His name has eluded me at the moment. I can see him. But he would go along to open circles. That's the one. Thank you. He would go along to open circles and beginner circles, and people said, why are you doing that? He said, because it's good for me to go back to the beginning. He said, you know, and to unlearn some of the nonsense I picked up along the way. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I have always enjoyed and loved to attend circles myself as a participant, not as a group leader or taking the circle, but attend. And also the time when you're running a workshop to be part of the workshop yourself and see what I understand and what you can learn yourself.
Yes, that is something that fairly recently that I've picked up on, starting to run my own groups, own circles, workshops. And it is, you know, I've heard tutors say before, thank you, you have all taught me so much. I've heard tutors say that, but now I really understand why they say that, because it is so true. Yeah, when you're in that environment and quests for knowledge, it just comes. We're hearing a lot from people. They're talking about spirit world has changed the way they work with us. Now, I found a difference in my work with the other world, especially in private sittings. They're no longer going down the evidential route. They're more about the person, more like a psychic reading at times as well. Have you found this out there in sunny Sweden?
I have, but I'm not sure if the spirit world has changed the way they're working with us as a medium. I think we have progressed and developed and have a bigger understanding of the evidence and the information they try to give us. It's always so easy to blame the spirit world. Oh, they have changed the way I'm working, so I don't understand it any longer. I need to go back to basic. But the true fact is the spirit world is always there, and they give us as much as we can understand and work with at this moment in time. And if you see, when you started to work as a medium and compare it to where you are today, it's still the same spirit who is working with you, but you have understood the evidence and the energy much stronger now. So therefore, you will understand things that you didn't understood in the beginning.
Mm.
This
So
is making
glad you
sense.
very, very much so, because that's exactly where I come from with that. I think going back to pre-COVID time, the spiritualism scene, for want of a better word, was very, I've got to have a nice message. I'm not being nasty, but people got into a nice message. Got your mother here, she's very proud of you, and that was about it. You didn't see anything really out above that, because that's all we needed. But now, in today's world, we need more. So, cool, the spirit world will rise to that. It's our needs. And Deborah Rabbit, she just put a comment on there. I think it's us that's changed. And I remember, I think, yeah, we need different things now from the other world. And the other world would give.
Yeah.
But we've got to have that need.
Yeah, but they will always give us what we can understand. There is no meaning for the spirit world to give us information that we don't understand or can't work with.
Correct. And as I say, when we go now for a private sitting, okay.
Go on.
Sorry. When we go now for a private sitting, again, pre-COVID, people would be more than happy with evidential, bringing through people we've known or lost or not lost, as the case may be. But now people, we're living in a very, very challenging world. And everywhere we look, there's challenge. So, yeah, of course, people want to know a little bit more about themselves. We're not talking fortune telling, but if you have a very accomplished, like a spiritual assessment type reading with somebody, it can really make a lot of sense. And it can really bring forward things that you've been feeling, things that you've been nurturing, and, encourage them to blossom. And it's fascinating what's going on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the need of the readings changing all over the time, because when we go through different paces in life, the need of the reading changes as well. And so are we as a medium when we give readings as well, because the people we're giving readings to today wouldn't be the people we were giving readings to in the beginning.
Correct.
So it's a learning curve, and as long as you are open to develop and wanting to become a better spiritual worker as you are, the spiritual will always provide you with the challenges, but always in a good and a positive way.
And it's that development of the medium, isn't it? And when I say that, I mean the development of the medium, not of their tools, not of their mediumship, but the actual development of the medium. And we're seeing this coming in more and more now. There's an awful lot of talk. Our lovely friend Steve Trolland always was going on about soul work. And it was a bit of a niche thing. People really didn't sort of like talk about it much or go there much. But now, more and more, I'm hearing people saying, I want to do soul work now. I want to work on myself. because this is the only area now we feel like we've got this control over.
Yeah. And to be true and honest, I think it is important to look into that part to have the fully picture of everything as well, because we all have a soul, we all have a spirit, and we're working with spirit and we're working with souls. So
definitely, and it is that wonderful avenue there to the self-evolvement of the medium, no matter what field you're going to work in, whether it be healing, evidential, philosophical, or just to sit and be with the other world. Noticing there, we just started up a new course in mediumship here for 6 weeks, and 3 of the attendees have no desire to go on and do private sittings or work on the platform. They just want to strengthen that link they have with the other world. And I just thought, how wonderful is that?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you never know what's going to happen afterwards. So they might tap into the mediumship work afterwards. So
yeah, you never know. But it is very fascinating what's going on out there. And it is very refreshing now seeing more up and coming medium. Do you think that with the advent of virtual spiritualism, so going like we're doing tonight, do you think with the advent of that people have been looking for more from their mediums because they're being exposed to different types of mediums and different levels and grades of mediumship? So do you think
I think with the online thing, it has opened a totally new avenue as well, because you have mediums in all kinds in this world, people with disabilities, people who's sitting in a wheelchair, people with walking disabilities, but they still have the ability to work as a medium and develop their ability to work as a medium or a healer, but they might not be able to travel outside their house, but they still have a wonderful gift to share with people. So this online community is a wonderful tool and a wonderful thing for so many people, and also people who can't travel to a church or a center, or might be too frightened to go out in the evening, or not feeling comfortable to attend a church themselves, but they still wants to be in the beautiful community with like-minded people.
That's very true. Yeah, that is very true. The virtual spiritualism is here to stay. Like anything new, it's going to have its little ups and downs. A settling in period of grace, I think we could call it, and that'll go on for quite a few years. But I think the mark of that really strong connection to working with the other world is the longevity of these associations. We've seen a lot of people, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, suddenly come in with a bang, and they're everywhere and everyone's talking about them, and then very, very quickly they just seem to disappear. They seem to fall away. But yeah, like you last night, you were working for the wonderful Bridie, and she has a very strong, healthy community there of different events. And it's nice to see. And it's opening the doors virtually to people who may not be able to attend.
Exactly.
It's really good. We have questions.
Okay, but you're also meeting so many people that you wouldn't be able to meet if you only were doing real churches, and also medium who live abroad in different countries who don't have any churches or centers in their own country. And without the virtual thing, they wouldn't be able to work in the churches online.
So,
it has been a huge help and wonderful development for everyone who feel comfortable to work online. And I don't know if I'm becoming lazy or too old, but I feel very comfortable to work online. And then when you're finished, you can just go and watch TV or something like that. But of course, I love to meet real people as well.
Yeah, I enjoy my online work. And like you say, it's wonderful because at the end of this, I just press a button and I'm already at home. I've got no traveling.
Yeah.
I can go and get a glass of wine or four. But also, I have noticed that working virtually, because you're at home and you're comfortable and you're relaxed and you're not stressed out about anything, but sometimes that really affects your mediumship, the quality and the standard of your mediumship. It really improves upon it.
Mm-hmm.
You suddenly start accessing quite more, different levels.
Yeah.
I always remember I was doing a dem for somewhere, and I was talking, and it was a lady's husband. And as it sort of like got moving, I just became aware that he was stood next to me. I actually physically became aware he was here. Because I thought, oh my God, he's here. And I thought, why don't you do that on the platform? But yeah, there are huge benefits to it. I'm going to go over, we've got a couple of questions.
And I mean, if I see myself, okay.
Yeah. So, Jan Wallace, a bit off topic, but not a problem. Do either of you believe in karma, collective, family, or individual? What's your thoughts?
I think, of course, there is karma, but I'm not sure how it's actually going to act. If we're going to, of course, you're responsible for your actings and what you're doing. You have your free will to do what you want to do, but you're responsible for everything you are doing. And if you're doing wrong thing, killing someone, raping someone, or murder someone, I mean, I don't know how you're going to be paid or got your punishment from God or the spirit world for what you're doing, or where the karma comes from. So
I'm go on.
I mean, I'm quite skeptic, because I also see so many people who say, "Oh, I'm so focused to sort out what I did in last life, so I can't really go on and do what I want to do in this life, and because there was so much negativity what happened in my past life, so I need to sort everything out." And what to believe, because I haven't really seen any proof of karma, but I do believe it exists in one way or another.
I have a thing. I struggle when people talk about things like trapped souls or karma will get them. I struggle with this outside force wreaking some sort of control or vengeance upon you. I think karma is of our own making, like you just said, whatever you've done in a previous life or previous lives, you can given the opportunity to make amends. I don't think it's inflicted on you, Jan. I think it is part of your soul's natural evolution that it will seek to correct areas of itself, not by any third party. So, believe in karma. Go on.
Yeah, because if we don't, no one here on this earth plane know the true and the honest, fully picture of everything, and we don't know what the people who are doing less good things need to experience in this life form to bring with them when they passed over to the spirit world. I'm not defending anyone who's doing bad things, but we don't know the true and honest what they're here for and what they're going to bring with them when they go home.
Yeah. And unfortunately, life is made up of different influences. If everybody was sweetness and light and la la la, then we wouldn't have any challenges. Again, not defending wrongdoings by people, but we need the shade to appreciate the light.
Exactly. And I do believe things happen for a reason. And of course, it's sad to see people who get murdered, people who get killed in the war and things like that. But still, we don't know the agreement before they step down on this earth plane. And I do believe we have an agreement before we're going down here to learn something, to have experience of something. And I fully understand if people disagree with me, but I think it's important to have your own belief and believe in what you think.
Very true. And we have the eternal free will. Yeah. So before any act is committed, we still in that energy of free will. You can still say no. You can still stop yourself. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But that's another factor that comes into play. We used to say, you know, when somebody's on the brink of doing something heinous to somebody else and they stop themselves, is that their karma? You know, putting back into a similar situation, but finding that within themselves to say, no, I'm not going to do it now.
That's a very interesting thing from what we were talking about from Deborah Rabbit. I'm disabled and I'm a medium.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah. And a lady has just joined the mediumship course here as well. She's got diverse abilities as well. And I just thought that's, funny enough, she's one of the ones who's saying, I don't want to do sit-ins and I don't want to get on a platform. I just want to strengthen my link with the other world. And I thought, how wonderful is that? Absolutely. The lovely Li Chu, fabulous baker. And saying, I've dipped into mediumship as an extra tool to help me with my healing. That's interesting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need more, Lee. I need more to understand that.
More cakes.
More cakes, definitely.
More shortbreads.
She is amazing cook.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't do shortbread. She does all these wonderful Malayan things. They're just like divine.
Yeah. Oh my God. But I would like to comment on Jan Wallace. And it wasn't really on a comic way I was talking about. It was actually about my own development and my own understanding of the purpose of my own soul. And if there is anything karmic in that who needs to be healed or that I need to work on, I'm sure when the time is right, it will come to my mind and I will be able to work with it and I will have the tools to work with it at that time as well.
I believe that very strongly as well, even to the point of you may not realize you're working for a karmic situation.
Exactly.
But you do, you work through a situation and you resolve it at the end. You may not know in this life or understand or comprehend that was your soul, you know, bringing the balance back in. I'm actually doing at the moment a hypnotic regression thing. We have a wonderful lady who, through ill health, hasn't been able to practice for a couple of years, and she's getting back into it, and she needs a test case. So I'm the test case, God help her. But it's very interesting. We've had a couple of sessions, and very, very interesting some of the things that come to light. And you almost have these epiphany moments because you just say something and you think, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Oh, wow, where has that come from? So, I think now there's going to be much more emphasis on personal development for people. that personal side. And, what does it mean to you? How is it going to help you? How is it going to help you grow? Lovely Carol Ann.
Mm-hmm.
I think all bad things that one has done, even in past lives, must have been necessary for our soul to evolve. Yeah? Yeah, I can go along with that, Carol Ann. And Jan just saying thank you. Lovely Marion. Takes wonderful photos. I haven't seen today's photos, Marion. Where have you been? And so we can't get away from knowing ourselves and all we've done. We have to live with that. Hopefully we have learned, developing our consciousness and to go on to help others through what we have learned. Yeah.
The teacher of tomorrow and the student of yesterday.
Ooh, I like that. But it is true, isn't it? The work that I do running the church here, it's amazing sometimes that people will come in and start talking because they're having some sort of an issue, and it's relatable to me because it mirrors things that I myself have gone through in life and experienced. You're able to talk compassionately because you do have an understanding, not knowing of it all, but an understanding. But then again, I was faced with something earlier this week that I just had no knowledge of whatsoever. And it was a very honest time of, do you mind if I get somebody involved because they will have that knowledge to help you, sort of thing. And they were fine with that, absolutely fine. But yeah, because it is everything we go through is part of our development, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah, everything.
The high days, high days, low days, holidays, everything.
Because it's put in your toolbox and it will stay there till it's time to use it, and when it's time, it will always pop up as a memory for you.
Yeah. Apparently, I missed the photos today. I should go back and have a look later, Mary. Lovely Lee. When in healing, loved ones come in, but I've had to wait till I finish healing to give the message of love, comfort, and healing to the recipient. And cakes next time we meet. Yay!
I'm jealous about the cake if it's a good one.
I'll freeze one for you.
No, but it sounds very well. It sounds very good, Lee. You should wait with the message to the end of the healing. Because it's different energies. When we do healing, and then the spiritual is always there, and they're always happy to pass on a message.
Yeah. We had somebody asked once in one of our healing services here at Paul, and they said, "Why is it frowned on for healers to give messages?" And I said, "Can I put that another way? When have you last seen a medium halfway through a demonstration walk down into the congregation and start giving healing?" I always, to my mind, healing is a very passive state of being. You're stepping out of the way. Mental mediumship is exactly what it says on the tin, and so you're very active. So yes, you are quite right to wait till the end, Lee, and also just be mindful. Because sometimes, this is my personal experience, and it's fascinating. I was giving healing to a lady, and I knew her mother, and her mother stepped in, and all her mother said was, "She's lonely." And I'm like, okay, acknowledged it, and carried on with the healing. Now, I could have gone two ways with that. I could have said to her at the end, "Oh, your mum was here and telling me you're lonely." "Oh, yes," one way. But I went another way, and I just got into conversation. I said, "So how are you doing?" "Oh, not too bad. I've just moved. I moved into a new area, and I don't know anybody there." And I said, "Oh, well, there's this group and that group, and we've got a group here, and there's other things." And she sort of like evolved from there. So just just be mindful, Lee.
Yeah.
Sometimes what you get is not to give off, is to help you as part of the healing. What do you think, Fredrik?
I totally agree with you, Lawrence. And I was actually hoping you were saying exactly what you were saying, because the mother in this way would probably wanting to uplift the daughter and find the right medium to do it, and you find the right way to tell her daughter how to stop the loneliness and feeling welcome in the community. So I would have done exactly the same as you did.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's we have been plagued in the past by people trying to do healing and give messages, and naturally they compromise each discipline by trying to do both. So just sometimes, Lee, watch out for Spirit may be dropping something in there for you to utilize, not to give as a message, but just to utilize going forward, to bring it in the conversation. Because when we have the healing here at Paul, afterwards, we all sit around, have a cup of tea, coffee, and a natter. And I always say there's more healing goes on in that time, actually, than there does when they're in the healing room. Because it gives that time for people to express themselves. And that's a big thing. And being able to listen is the biggest gift. Definitely, definitely, definitely. So, evidence. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, back to evidence again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Go on.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
It's always going to be one of these slightly contentious subjects, because it's a very subjective thing. In my early days on open platform and honing my skills, I was with somebody and they were just being a little bit difficult. And I just said to the other, well, give me one thing they're going to understand. And I went, he's holding up a pineapple. And the woman's face lit up. That's him. That's exactly him. That's all I wanted to hear. And that was it. And I thought, and he understood again, what does a pineapple mean?
Exactly. And the rest of the people in the congregation will think, oh, that's too general.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah. So it's always a subjective thing. But I teach and I work with very much, and I know you do as well, Fredrik, that we don't skip. Oh, they're showing me a cup, and they're showing me a cat, and oh yeah, I'm seeing a tree in the garden. Just skipping around, because everything we get shown, everything that we get shown. I've never heard that. I've heard that about Patrick's grass.
Neither. No.
Everything that we get shown by Spirit, or everything that we see in Spirit, again, I'm trying to correct my terminology and not put myself as the victim in a way of what's coming from Spirit, because it's a mutual agreement and mutual meeting. So everything that we perceive with the other world, if you pull away at it, there's a story.
Yeah.
That clock that you can hear chiming away, it's a couple of minutes slow at the moment. All right, so as a spirit, I could come back and just show that clock. And they go, oh, you've got this green clock that chimes. Oh, yeah, I understand that. But there's this whole story. And I don't know if I should share it now, because I don't know what the statute of limitations is. But many, many, many years ago, it was my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. It was one of the biggies. And I wanted something special for it. And my brother had a pub, and I was working in the pub with him. And there was a gentleman who used to come in the pub, had a bit of a reputation. Whatever you wanted, he could get for you. And I said, I want something really nice, a special wedding anniversary. And he turned up with this clock. And I gave it to my mum and dad. They loved it and everything. And it wasn't until years later, I just suddenly had this horrible thought of, where did he get it from? oh my God. Have I just been complicit with a crime? I have no idea. But just go, just show if you can bring that story up, because it's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a story to unfold, and there's always a story to follow. And if you just see a cup, the cup means something, and it's not just to say, "Oh, I see a cup here." And I attended a workshop in Edinburgh with Phil Dykes and Kerry MacLeod, and he had a wonderful way of working with the evidence and unfold the evidence and really developed. So the way he taught each and everyone was such a wonderful way.
I saw Kerry work when they were down
I think
here.
you're frozen.
No? You there? We are having a few communication issues here.
Yeah.
I saw Kerry, when she did the service here last year, and she just had one of those magical moments where the recipient was saying no to this person. They didn't understand them. And she just sort of like went back in the family, went through mother, went through associations, and found this one. The recipient went, "Oh my God, yes, that's her sister." It was, so it's all there. And sometimes we panic, don't we?
Yeah.
We panic when we get a no. As time goes on, the no's become less of a fearful thing and more of an invitation to go, oh, okay, let's get this sorted out.
Yeah. Some excitement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, what did I miss? And that's generally it. What did I miss? What did I miss?
Exactly.
I'm just going to put a comment up because there's lots of comments coming in on this comment. Where are you?
About the pineapple. Yeah.
We've never heard that, Violet, so thank you for that education there. Sorry, but there's so many people commenting on it. Yeah, all right. I think we understand what the pineapple means now. So can we just move on?
Maybe we change the topic now.
Yes. Okay. Well, it is after. It's after 7:30. So yeah, we're into the adult hour.
Yeah.
But that is a thing, especially with newcomers into the world of evidential mediumship. The no is sort of like this instant pull the plug, disconnect from the other world, straight in your head, and everything goes to the wall then. But as we mature, again, watching you last night, I was fascinated. Now, you were giving a link to a lady, and it was her mother, and the depth of the evidence that you were pulling out, I was just absolutely fascinated by. It's a standing joke with me. Women only have 3 types of hair. It's black, it's white, it's grey. I do not understand chestnut. I do not understand strawberry blonde. Excuse me. I do not understand this terminology. And I find it fascinating when you see a female medium working, that they will go into they'll start describing shoe styles, and I'm going like, where the hell is all this coming from? Obviously I need to sit and read up on this to get it into my toolbox. But as I say, last night you were pulling out some wonderful details, because you really just got that first bit of evidence, and you just really sort of like worked with it and pulled it apart and peeled it back and revealed all the layers underneath. And that's a real masterclass. So thank you.
Thank you.
Say, yeah, it's certainly a a spur for me now to get on and read up on hair colours. I'm sure there's only 3. I'm sure the other ones are just made up.
Yeah, of course. It's a mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's between black and white. It's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a wonderful group yesterday, and it was the first time I was working in that group, and it was just wonderful. And as we were talking about before, it was online, and I would never have been able to be in that group if it wasn't online.
And being based in Ireland, the chances of that being a physical group are very remote, because it's still very difficult in Ireland to get a centre up and running and going. Although the popularity now, since the virtual appeal has started over 5 years now, we've been doing this. Goodness me. There is much more interest, and I look to you.
And Ireland is a beautiful country as well, and unfortunately they have a different religion who still take a huge part in their growing up.
Yeah.
So they're not strong believer in it. They're not very strong believer in it, and they're not really allowed to look into it or develop it either. There's many people who does it, and I feel there's a change upcoming. So
yeah. Well, we've seen that change in Europe. It was a real eye-opener to me when we first started working with people in Europe, and learning that, you don't have churches, you don't have centres like the UK. The UK, every town has got a church or a centre, and the bigger the town, the more there is. So it was quite an eye-opener hearing that you didn't have this opportunity. But I have seen in the last 5 years a real great thirst for knowledge coming from our European counterparts. It's quite refreshing, actually.
Yeah.
Are you finding that up in Sweden as well?
I mean, I think it has been on the same level for many, many years, and we also have a background of a few pioneers in Sweden, like Swedenborg, and what's the name of the painter, a lady? Sorry, I don't remember her name. Very famous lady painter who also was a spiritualist. I should know my history, but so it has always been a part of our culture, but not in the degree that you have in UK. There has always been mediums here. There has always been a spiritual interest, and in the past you had to work in your own home because people would treat you very, very, very badly. And if you're going even further back, people were burnt as witches if you had an unnatural knowledge that you could see things that no one else could see. Then you were classified as a witch, and then you were burned.
Yeah. Hilma Klint.
Thank you, Hilma af Klint. Yeah. So that's Google. Two very strong. That's two very strong pioneers in Sweden when it comes to mediumship and spiritualism. So we have had it here, but not to the degree as we have been able to develop it as you have in UK.
Yeah. And I always believe, again, nothing is ever wasted when the spirit world interact with us. There's always a reason. And it may not be for the now. So Swedenborg, he's fascinating reading, very orthodox, I find, with Swedenborg. Very orthodox approach. I'm not familiar with the painter, but it just started those seeds. So as spiritualism is coming more to the fore and more talked about and more understood, I mean, it's amazing. All these countries are finding that actually that is part of their history as well already, that they've had these mediums. there, but they never got anywhere. Because tell me, it's up in Scandinavia as well. Spiritualism and spiritists often get confused by people, correct?
Correct. And people who should know better mix them as well when they're working as a teacher. So it's embarrassing to hear people teaching spiritualism and they're talking about spiritism.
Yeah, never a good thing. We've done a lot of work with the spiritists here, and I like their approach to the crossovers between spiritism and spiritualism. For example, their mediumship isn't demonstrated the way we demonstrate.
No.
It's all done in private, and it's by invite, and it's very rarely is it a direct communication. It's more for healing. It's more for what you would call rescue work. You come across that?
Yeah, very much. But also when I was reading about spiritism, then I come across the rescue world, the rescue circles, and things like that. And then I actually think it has been transferred from spiritism to spiritualism, where they also try to start to do these rescue circles in spiritualism as they did in spiritism.
I was always, the jury was out with me with rescue work, because one of the things I'm a spiritualist is because if you look, there is always that evidence there. No matter what it is, whether it is a message, whether it is reading, there's always going to find some piece of evidence to support it. And I was very dubious about rescue circles and very mindful that sometimes our imagination can play a massive part in what's being presented and said, because people will naturally embellish any details they're picked up. However, I was invited to sit in a spiritist demonstration where they did rescue work, and I'm sat there thinking, I'm still not sure about this, until the third communicator came through. And I won't go into the full story, but it was a very hard passing, very, very bad things were going on. And I kid you not, the atmosphere in the room changed. I honestly thought I'm going to have to get out because I'm going to be violently sick. It was that oppressive. And they moved on, went with somebody else, and it lifted, and I just sat there. I was actually in a cold sweat. And I thought, okay, well, I wanted me evidence. At the end of that, the circle leader, the medium who was in charge, was talking in trance and turned to me and said, and this is all coming through interpreters, and said, we apologize to Lawrence. We didn't realize he was that sensitive too. And they named this one that came in. And I'd shown no outward signs. I was trying to remain composed and thinking, they said you're not allowed to move, but if this gets any worse, I'm going to have to. But it didn't. And I thought, okay, there you go, clever clogs. You asked for evidence. Now you got it. You're happy now.
It's interesting. Thank you for sharing the story.
No, that was absolutely fascinating. I just thought, okay, I did say I want evidence, and my goodness, did I get it. Lovely Jan. Helen Duncan, an amazing woman badly treated by the UK government and subject of a recent so-called documentary by the BBC reporter. To say I was cross was an understatement. Did you get that out in Sweden?
Most people who have studied the history of spiritualism know about Helen Duncan.
But there was a recent program, a four-parter on the BBC. Now, I'm going to come across slightly different. I quite liked the woman who reported on that because she was showing, actually, to me, a genuine interest in things. when they said about in the trial of her, they had something like 136 people stand up to testify for her. And the reporter who was guiding this story all the way through was in total amazement at that. There was no sneering, no scoffing. That would have been an ideal opportunity, for somebody if they wanted to paint it in the very negative light, to go, oh, God, yeah, and all these people, of course.
Yeah.
But she was, I quite liked her. I quite liked, but the whole story. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I haven't seen the documentary, and I don't think it's possible to see it in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't really get the BBC program here. We have to pay extra if it's possible.
Okay, well, we'll when you're over here, we'll have a binge watch.
Yeah.
Something that was left out, actually, Jan, on that program, it's there was an awful lot of emphasis being put on people outside of spiritualism being abusive towards her. But in her biography, it's fascinating that she worked for one of the Scottish-based organisations of spiritualism, and they would charge 5 guineas in those days for a sitting with her, but they would only pay her literally a couple of shillings because they said, giving her all this money would ruin her. So not only did she have that from external focuses on her mediumship, there was also this internal thing going on. There's an awful lot there to unravel. But thanks for that, Jan. Lovely Carol Ann. There we go. In the beginning of your mediumship development, what was the hardest thing for you to overcome?
My fearness to stand in front of a people and trust and believe that I had something to deliver without having any proof or anything myself. Because before I go up on a platform, I have no idea what to say or what to give. So I have to trust. When I open my mouth and feel the spiritual, there is something coming out. That was my biggest fear. And also in the beginning, as we were talking about before, to get to know. If you get to know you were the worst medium in the world and you couldn't really overcome it, and you were so focused to get everything right. So if you get to know, you were totally destroyed.
Yeah. The dreaded no. Kerry McLeod teaches no is a new opportunity. I love that.
Yeah. And also the lovely Gordon Smith says a no is a yes who hasn't been understood yet.
Ooh, yes. Ooh, we like that.
Yeah.
Beginning your mediumship, what was the hardest thing for you to overcome? I think the active mind with me, because I am very cerebral about things. My jobs are always very cerebral. So, of course, in my mediumship, I'm trying to be cerebral, and that's the last thing you want. So it was stilling my mind and not embellishing and not changing things that I was seeing, not interpreting things. So there you go, Carol Ann. We'll see you on Wednesday. So you got two ideas there. Questionnaire for Violet. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, Violet. If you want to put that another way, please. I can't quite get that. Well, talk of the devil. We have the lovely Susan Hughes. Have you met Susan?
Many times.
Yeah, because you can hear her voice, can't you? It's great. Hi, boys. Sorry, I'm only popping on now, so only catching what was being said right now. The truth of everything is no one knows everything, and no one way is the only way. consideration should always be given to other experiences and understandings. Yeah.
Oh, I have to say, I'm reading what Violet wrote, and I have never heard about the Mandela effect. I don't really know what that is.
Mandela, where things some people remember and others don't. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
No.
I've never heard of a Mandela.
No, I can't give you an explanation, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Jan just bringing up spooky background music and locations used unnecessary. Unfortunately, Jan, every time spiritualism comes under MSM mainstream media, they will go for the popular things. So they will do the spooky music. There was a fascinating program which included the Black Mausoleum in Edinburgh. Now, Ewan knows it very well, and apparently this place is rank. It's for the brave. But of course, on the TV program, again, it was all this spooky music, but actually it's probably quite fitting for that place because it really is. There's something really fascinating. I will get there one day. But,
true and honest, I think it's Ewan's relatives who lives there.
More than likely.
No, I know Ewan very well, so.
Yeah, different. But yeah, you're always gonna get that. But I think the essence from that program, as I said, is her name Shan? I quite liked her. I would love to sit down and have a chat with her because I sense an openness there. And I didn't pick up from her any snidiness or derogatory type things. She seemed to present a very fair and balanced opinion on things. I quite liked her. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the whole hour gone.
Oh my God, yeah.
I know.
It's going fast.
Yeah.
As usual, it has been a true pleasure to attend the Lyceum nights again.
I love them because, as we've seen tonight, we've got a sort of a thread. But yeah, it gives people that chance, that opportunity to express opinions, to ask questions, and all the better, because the more people ask questions, the more people learn, the more people grow. It's as simple as that. And you may not get the answer that you want at this time, but it's going to be an answer. Because the wonderful thing in spiritualism, it actually really supports and encourages our individualism.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. And I also like that there isn't just one answer to the question. There's many answers to the same question, depending on how you understand the question yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very important. You can ask the same question to 10 people and get 10 different answers because they've all heard it slightly differently, a slight different emphasis. So, yeah. Anyway, Fredrik, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Can't wait until September when you're back down here in Poole taking a 5-day course, which will be as brilliant as it has been in the past. Lovely Jan Wallace there. For me, spiritualism is my faith, and I would like others to give it the respect they give to other faiths. Yeah. We've got to remember as well, Jan, we are a recognised religion. So there comes a line where people are trying to have a debate and they cross into their just trying to slate it, and then other things come into effect. So, yeah. So we should just saying good night. But anyway, Fredrik, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yep, and you. Thank you, everybody. Next week, we have the lovely Elizabeth Titterton with us. She's talking to us from the west coast of Scotland. And very shortly, we will be having an evening with Stephen Mager. And he's got this fascinating theory about spirit communication reflecting the world of the day. So like how spirit were communicating with rappings at a time when we were using telegraph, right up to and including today's world of using electronic means. So it's really good. I'm looking forward to it.
It's interesting.
He's put it together really well. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. You can watch the service live from Paul tomorrow on Facebook or YouTube, the channels you're watching on tonight. It's me, so feel free to go out and go down the beach. If it's a day like today, it's fine. But in the meantime, it's good night from me, and that's
myself.
Cue, Fredrik, and yourself. Good night, everybody.